This whole student summit idea was originated from a chance meeting I had with a ITC board member. And I'm glad he did it. I think it was needed. And that was ITC 4 years ago. And then we started planning this event. Once again, things got delayed by COVID. But our next speaker is the ITC board member who was the one that cornered me and said, this is what you need to do. And I, of course, being new to my new job, I of course said yes. So I just got to say I've had a really great 3 days. I think everything has gone really well, and it reflects a lot of work and a lot of effort that has gone into making this happen. And like I said before, we are in discussions about how we can do this on a regular basis. So, Bill, please.
Thank you, John. And first of all, I want to thank everybody, every single person here. And it's an honor and privilege to be a part of this conversation. You've all stepped forward, and so my name's, Imi Winiksha Shiako, Imi Winiksha Shiapo Philip Rigdon. I'm an enrolled member of the Yakama Nation. Currently, I oversee Department of Natural Resources. Actually, I'm acting tribal administrative director. If you don't know, our tribe, South Central Washington State, we're one of the Columbia River Treaty tribes, 650,000 acre forest. And so when I talked to Laura and I talked about the group, we talked about she thought it would be good if I kind of gave my story, and I kind of laughed because I'm like a lot of you guys when you guys were presenting today. We went in the forest because we're introverts. We went in the forest because we don't come up and want to, this is awkward for us to sit here and talk about ourselves. It's really weird. And I think that's an important thing to recognize, that we're connected to things that we're connected to the land. We're connected. That's our history. Those are who we are. And so I've had enormous opportunities. But I want to start off, I'm just like you guys. I started out firefighting. I started out on our reservation, and I got to go to a fire.
What?
And I think the important part for me was I started going to college, and I remember going to school, and when you're going to school, especially for some of you in the younger ages, you're not sure what you want to do. You don't know where it is, what's driving you, and those things, but you always felt naturally going out in those natural places. When you're down on the river fishing, when you're out hunting, when you're out gathering wood, when you're just in a place where you knew where your people were from. And I think that was an important part, because I grew up going to the mountains. I grew up, and I'm the middle brother of two very outspoken brothers. They're more extroverts than I am. I have an older sister, and so the thing is that's a unique thing when you talk about who and what you are is knowing that you're part of an important thing. And so as we have this conversation, I think it's important to recognize, peopling is a joke. Tia, who works for me at the agency, we were laughing about you saying that. Yeah, sometimes I don't like people too, but I'm in front of people all the time. Sometimes you sit here, and the thing is that your path is your journey, and faith is a big part of what we do. Part of our way, is going to the sweat house. Our way is to wash it and following the songs, understanding those things, and that's important. But more than anything, I'm going to go into kind of where and how I did. But I remember, so pretty soon I'm finding fire. Then pretty soon they asked me to go mark trees. And I was at college, and I was like, I want to do something more science or something more, and they said, you could be a forester. And I was like, what is a forester? And They said you could go mark trees every day and you could be in the mountains every day, and they'll pay you $20 an hour. And I was like, oh hell yeah, I could buy a truck and $20 an hour, you go hit all the basketball tournaments, and I think that's where I'm just like you guys. That's where we grew up on the res. That's where we felt we fit naturally into those things, and you could see that from down here in the Southwest to the Northwest. It was Kootenai to all of that, and it's an important part of our conversations is what that was. And so I ended up at University of Washington, and my sister was there. She talked me into going over there, and pretty soon my brother and my cousin, we all ended up over there. And I think that's the thing that I hope this organization that we're pulling, this conversation is how do we create family? Because how do we create the people, the inspiration that you have? Your guys' story is an inspiration. Every one of you that got up here and told your story, because you're putting your heart and soul into where you're going. And that was not, you don't realize it when you're doing it. You feel like, you know, and I raised my hand when you said, did you ever want to give up? Because we all feel it. We all feel those things. And so I ended up getting a BS in forestry at University of Washington. And in the meantime, I went through my own divorce. You go through your own life cycles of what it is, and you think all the challenges. But I remember one time I'm walking through the mountains, and I'm trying to figure out, and I stopped and said a prayer and laid some tobacco down, and I was just thinking of, you know, after going through, and it's not just that. We all come from tribal communities. I've lost cousins, relatives, you know, and two hands by the time I'm 21 on those relatives. But we deal with trauma too much on the reservation. We deal with things that most people in the United States society don't, and we don't recognize that makes us second guess everything. That we put up these barriers, these things in our heart to protect ourselves from pain, and we got to realize that's that family part though. We got to realize that we're lucky. We're lucky. One of my cousins that ended up at University of Washington, his name was Tim Brown. He passed away. He almost had his PhD in hydrology engineering. And when you talk about that, I think it's important to recognize. I went to UW. We went together. His success, my success, those things and I think that's an important part that, and my success will never be anything but without him and my brother and my cousins and and the community that we created, and know that there are people here that we support. And that's why Intertribal Timber Council has been so important to a lot of it, you know, and that's why we wanted to really host this with our partners and into this with it, and why this conversation is so important to us, because you guys are our future, and that is so important, and you don't realize that. You know, I was laughing around with Cody. He wanted to come up and tell my story, which I didn't want that to happen. His story has got all these things that never really happened there. But that's the thing, is that when we started and we got asked to go to these meetings, we got asked, and we met Jamie Pinkham, you know, Gary Morishima, Jim Erickson. We met, you know, John Vitello, Bernie Ryan. You can go down the line of these people that were dedicated to forestry, dedicated to the management of our resources, dedicated to helping tribes step up, dedicated to us, dedicated to our future, to that we have a say into what we do and how we do that. And I think that's the important part of what I'm trying to say is you guys are that next part of that story. You're the ones that will be here. One of you will be up here in this role trying to inspire the next generation. And that's the thing is people like Jim Durlow here and Cody, and I could go, you know, with Aaron and all of us, we built this network of folks that are your support. That's your family. And so I hope what you take out of here is that we're your family too. When if you need help, if you see those opportunities, you know, don't be afraid to come talk to us, because we were probably misbehaving in the back more than you guys know. Probably hung over. Sorry, that was Cody hung over in the back.
He's supposed to be inspirational, Phil.
All right. And the thing is though is, and so I'll go back to that is I didn't really, you don't realize that you know, 4 years ago I went through cancer. I had cancer of the tonsil, and you come to the values of who you are and the values of what makes you. And my story, I was the president of the Intertribal Timber Council when we started talking about workforce development. We started, well, we've been talking about it forever, but when people like Jim and Cody and us said, we got to make this a priority. We need to make you guys our priority. And so you guys showed up, and I want to honor you. And I'm telling you guys stuff I would never really talk in public about. This isn't my way. I'm actually pretty introvert. I don't, and unless you get to know me, then they probably think I talk too much, but that's, and I do think it's important to understand. I actually, after I graduated, I went back and I worked as a timber saw officer for a while, then a forest development forester, and I decided to go back to graduate school. And I remember I went back and I was trying to figure out where I'd go, and I applied to University of Idaho. I applied to Montana. I wanted to do fire ecology. I thought maybe be a scientist and all this. And I went to my civil culturist, Chad Oliver, at University of Washington, and he said, "Phil, have you ever thought about applying to Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies?" And I was like, "No, I don't even know where that is." And I think that's important to recognize. We're out here, you know, UW, Seattle, that's huge, you know, and we're part of a bigger story. And so I was like, I had never thought about it. I didn't think. He goes, "Do me a favor. I will pay your application fee." And back at the time, it was like $75, which is a lot of money back in that day. And so this professor, he believed in me, and he covered my application at Yale. And so I tell this story because I think it's funny as heck too. So I started getting, you know, Montana sends me a big old packet like this. Idaho sends me a packet. UW's already calling me, and I get this. And so we played a basketball tournament with a bunch of my cousins and stuff in Warm Springs, and I was driving back, and my dad retired, and my mom and dad they had a camper, and they went on a trip across the country. They're actually in Atlanta at the time. It's 9 o'clock at night, and we won the tournament. And so my brother, he was married and had a year-old daughter, and so he couldn't go. His name's Steve. And so I was calling and talk crap to him, and I was laughing about this and this, "Hey, I got an extra jacket. You want to come wear it for a day?" You know, this is being brothers. You guys understand how that is. And so I get this letter, and it's just 1-page letter and it was from Yale. And I started laughing because, you know, I get all these huge packets about, you know, going to these schools, and you get this 1-page letter. So I thought it was a rejection letter. So I open it up and I read it and I say, "Congratulations, you've been selected for the class of 2002 at Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies." And I laughed because I was like, I read it to my brother while I'm reading it. I say, "Hey, check this out." And the thing is, you know how we are. I didn't tell anybody I was applying to graduate school. I told the people that I asked to put my name up there. It was something that I wasn't really announcing. I was just trying to figure out life. And first he goes, "Grad school? When did you apply for grad school?" And then he goes, "Yale. You're going to Yale." And this is tribal. This is us as a community. well, shit, I got to go. And I said, where are you going? She goes, I'm going to go call mom and dad and tell them, you know, and it's like, hey, dude, shouldn't I tell them that I'm and that's family. That's what we're talking about. That's our community. That's who we are. And that's the love that we have for each other. And that's the love that we and the pride that our community takes. And so, and that's the thing I love about Intertribal Timber Council is I want to see every single one of you. I want to see all of our folks succeed. You know why? Because that means the people at home, they're succeeding. That the land is succeeding. That we're doing the right things. That we're connecting. And so when I came back, I actually the funny part is I ended up working a 6 or 8 contract fields program. So and I started off, but I did more natural resource policy when I was like, yeah, I got a master's in forestry in 2002. And I think that it was one of the most amazing experiences. And I should say this, but I was also driving across the country, and I remember when the first 1,000 miles I'm going, I'm like, I could do this, or you know, the second 1,000 miles is like I could turn around right now, and then the last 1,000 miles, shit, I've gone too far. and I think that's life. That was, and like I said, you know, part of these things are faith. Part of these things are about when you get these opportunities, meet them halfway. And what that means is you pray to God, you pray to Tamanatla, the Creator, you know, and those opportunities will come. But that means it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to take those roles. And I didn't always understand it. And I remember my mom, she passed away about 5 years ago, but she always used to tell me, she said, my cousins, my brothers, they follow me anywhere. And she goes, or they'll follow you to the bar, they'll follow you to the courts, they'll follow you, you know what I mean? And I laugh at her and say, no, they don't. And she always worried that I would never take on the leadership role. And because I am an introvert, I am a person, I see many, hearing your guys' stories, I am you guys. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. You guys have amazing stories, and you're gonna take the opportunity to step forward, but also have faith and take on those things that scare you. Take on those things to do. I think that's an important part of and that's why I'm really proud of everybody that stepped forward here. And you see Chad, you see people that are younger that are coming and now becoming professionals. You see Jim's and posse at Sailors Kootenai, they're running the forestry outfit there. And it's beautiful to see those things happen. I think that's the part I'm trying to say. And I see Sailors Kootenai at Yakima, I see these young boys that I BS with all the time when they first that are there, and I want to see that success. I want to see these people be part. I want them to be able to feel comfortable to come and, you know, I'm having a hard time because school is not easy. And when you're away a long way, you're homesick. You know, and when you're away, you're going to lose people, and it's tough, and you're going to feel that loss, that story that you had with somebody that, because I did, I you know, but you also know that those people, they're celebrating you. They're so proud of what you're out there doing. They're so proud to see that path that you have taken, and I think that's so important for us as natives to think about what we do. That's why, you know, this week our tribe is having an upheaval a little bit. I would have been here all week, but I had to stick around a little bit for some of the trouble. But I took the effort to fly here because I thought it was important for you guys to hear at least this part of the story, and also to understand that you know, your colleagues, your friends, your inspirations are the people that you work with. The people I watch Cody, you know, and what he does with his people. I watch Jim, what he's done with his people. I watch and these are the people I see in the room. So if you go each tribe and you see, Bobby Bruno at Warm Springs, you see Eric Quimps at Umatilla, or Aaron Miles at Nez First, and you see these people, they're tribal members that have come up our ranks, and they're helping change their reservations. They're doing the work that we used to depend upon. Somebody that didn't care about our songs, that didn't care about all those things that made us our people. And now it's us that we go there. And so in 2005, I didn't want to go out of the woods, and I want to tell you guys that I go sweat at my uncle's house and all the time, and all these guys, and the guy that was, his name was Carol Palmer. He took the tribal director job, and so the DNR job came open, and they were all, you got to apply, Phil, you got to apply, and at the time I was like, I don't want to apply. I'd be stuck in the office the whole time, but I applied, and he didn't want to hire me. I will tell you, because we didn't have educated anybody in our leadership roles at that time. And that's 2005. And so I'm going to be one of the first ones to come back with the higher education and those things. And the thing is that I sweat every week and all my uncles, they went and told him, hire him, and so they finally did. But you want to know where my other education started was my uncle was the general council chairman, and him, and that's why it means loved one, he passed on. All these old elders, they would call and they'd say, Phil, you want to go to lunch? Which, you know what that meant? There was about 5 or 6 of them. You're going to buy me lunch. So I go buy them lunch, and I would go sit there, and they'd be laughing, telling their stories. And pretty soon I'm off. They pull me off with one, and they're telling me our important things that they think I need to know. And it's the Yakima way. It's not any other way. They tell a story about a family member, about a story about this place. And then they come back and they ask you to see if you remember it. And then they make sure. And after about 2 months of this, once a week for 2 months, Tommy said, you got this big old degree from back east, but we wanted to see if we wanted to see if you are going to be Yakima, or you're going to be in the white man's books. That's pretty much how they said it. And they said, we're proud of you. You're coming here to listen. You're not coming here to tell us what to do. And I learned my next thing about treaty rights. I learned about water rights. I learned about I learned a lot of stuff I shouldn't have learned too. I will say that too. Their stories are creative. They're like Cody's stories. But I think that's the thing is, don't be afraid to go to your elders. Don't be afraid to talk to them. They got beautiful history, and that history. And so, and I think that was the part. And so from that time, I had to be president of ITC. I've testified to Congress. I've done all these things. And I think one of the things I want to share with you. So I did talk. I went to Yale. Gifford Pinchot started Yale School of Forestry back in the 1900s. And this last weekend, I actually got elected to the alumni board at the school, and for it's school environment now, but it's a forestry school. And that surprised me. For one thing, they called and asked if I was willing to run. And I said, yeah, but all my friends that I talked to, none of them voted. I didn't even know I was supposed to vote until this year. And it made me laugh, but you go back to the institution, and that's what I call it. But I got asked to talk about tribes and I'm in this meeting this weekend, and I think this is relevant to our conversation. It's relevant to what you guys are taking on as you go, and as we talk about this, and they asked me what I thought about some things. I kind of tell the story, when you read the great naturalists that come out of places like Yale, Cornell, you read Walden, you read, Leopold, he had a big impact around here. You read all these great, conservationists, John Muir and all these things. And I've read them all. I sit there and it's important to do that. And they asked me, well, what do Indians think of these? And the thing is that you read them in the first chapter, it's always, they walk into this wilderness where no man has walked before. And they don't ever recognize that this whole area that we live was shaped by you, by your ancestors. It was shaped when you come up here. These lands were shaped by the people that were here. And I always remember, because when this came to me, made me laugh is I was in this advanced civiculture class, and you had to go get a science article from the night before 1850, and we'd have a conversation on it this week. And so this one guy brought into two stories in the Northeast about, and it was a missionary guy trying to explain why the Indians are up there burning on top of the hillside. And so he gives this elaborate, 4-page, written article, what they call science. And then, 80 years later, another missionary guy, I guess that's how they do their business. He's writing a very similar article, and the Indians are burning up on the hillside again. And so it goes around, and the class is all talking, explaining. And it got to me, and I said, I don't believe we call it. Is this what we really call science? Because nobody went and asked the Indians, why are you burning on the hillside? Nobody went and said, is there a purpose for what you're doing? And so they made up what we were doing. But no one went up there and said, what food are you getting that ready for? And that, I think, is what you guys have to face. People are telling a story about management, and you are the ones that carry the legacy that comes from, and the responsibility to speak up on behalf of our ancestors, and the purpose for that, and I am too, as well as all of us. And you see that, and also we got a responsibility to our communities to do the best we can and to fight for those things. And we do that. We do that through all of the avenues that we work. And I could use an example, right now, they're giving a raise to all the firefighters, the white firefighters that work for the federal government. But guess who they're forgetting? The Indians don't deserve it, I guess. And so, we're working with Aaron, we're working with Jim, he's and Cody, and all of us we're fighting, and we will always have to do those fights. We will always have to speak up. We become forgotten too easily. And although we have more firefighters, I heard a lot of careers started out in firefighters, so did mine. And so that's the part that I just wanted to also, I thank you all for giving me this much time. I'm not sure how much time I've spoken. I have 10 minutes. I'll open it up for some questions. That's more the story I want to tell. I don't want Cody's story out there, so Cody can't ask questions. But know that you guys got fans. You don't realize it. We are proud of where you guys are today, and always know that we're there to be a part of. We want you and us to have a connection so that our stories will help with what we all do. So, any questions?
What helped you survive out there in Yale? At Yale?
So there were two things out there that helped. One of the things was I went to the school for Forestry and Environmental Studies, and they had these mods, and you actually built a community of folks, and so you built your friendships, and especially there where we were at, it wasn't like the law school or the school of management or these places where it was all competitive. You have these amazing people from all over the world coming doing these amazing things, and they were like telling you you're amazing with what you do and your story. And so that was one thing. The second thing was the few natives out there, we hung out together all the time. And there was a group of undergrads, and then there was like 3 graduate students, and the 3 graduate students, they come over and we'd be hung over the next day. You got to work hard, play hard, but I think it wasn't just that. There were, each school would have Native American events, and we'd all go up, and you built this network of folks they're still, and these people do amazing things that you across the country, and that's what I'm saying. Is you got to find your own community, even if you come here. You got to find that network of people that give you the support, and also, if you don't like to people, I understand. My family understands. Leave Phil alone at times. He's had too many people around. But also know that there's people that love you and want you to succeed. And there's a lot of people that want to believe in and that. Just know that. I think that's important. But no, building up community is an important part. All right, I'm getting off easy.
I could just make a comment. So almost everyone that talked this morning, they talked about not knowing where you want to go or having some plan, but almost all of them had plans for very near term, like 5 to 10 years. I would say that for probably 95% of you, you won't end up where you think you're going. You will start down a road, opportunities will present themselves. You will find where your inspiration, where your motivation. One of our elders told me, I wish I remembered which one so I could quote him, but he told me, you will end up where your people meet. So, and I found that to be very true in my career. I never had any intentions to be in the position I'm in now. It's just a whole bunch of extra work and headache, but you feel an obligation as you get more responsibility, as people look up to you more, you just seek out those opportunities, take advantage, just really for the betterment of your family, your community, your future generations. So don't feel pressure if you don't know right now. It will come.